This week on Previous World Weekly, we take a look at San Diego Comic-Con at home, decide whether or not Archie is a simp, and who would win between Grimace and the Kool-Aid Man. Get ready for some fast food, sugary goodness that's all happening right now on Previous World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's new comic book day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, aka the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, and today is officially week 2 of Free Comic Book Summer.
There it is, right. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, I think, because it seems like no matter how often you explain this, Ashton, people still can't quite grasp the concept of Free Comic Book Day Summer, of Free Comic Book Summer, and possibly.
There it is.
For the next couple of weeks, and we'll have Ashton explain like exactly what that means. But how about little things we saw this past week? And I'm going to go first because I'm excited.
You raised your hand.
Yes, me in the front. So X-Men, and it hasn't even been 2 minutes into the show yet, or 3 minutes into the show yet, but it just so happens that scientists in Germany and the UK discovered an uncuttable metal. And okay, it's not called adamantium, right?
It's a missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity. So long story short here. Oh, my mic keeps going in and out here. That's going to be a problem here. Let me fix that real quick. But real quick.
I was panicking, like messing with the volume. I was like, I can't hear half of what he's saying. I hope he's not asking me a question.
No. Yeah. So in case you guys missed it, because I went in and out for a second, hopefully that does not continue. Scientists in the UK and Germany have created the first manufacturable non-cuttable material. And just to underline how much of an X-Men pull this is, even though it's not really, it's also called Proteus. That's the name of the uncuttable metal. Now you're looking at the image here, and Johnny pointed this out earlier. Well, it's got cuts in it, Troy. It's got cuts in it, Troy. What are you talking about? But here's the deal: the outer layer you cannot penetrate, but once you get to the center of it, it will not. You can't cut it. You can't break it. You can't do anything to it. So this is the closest we're ever going to come to adamantium. I thought for all the science comic book nerds in the room that was actually pretty cool to point out. Uh-oh. Am I going in and out again? I'm still going in and out again. I'm going to fix this. Ashton, why don't you talk about what you saw this past week?
Okay. So I was on Twitter, which is always a great idea. And our friends at Archie Comics have politely requested that you refrain from calling Archie a simp, specifically on their YouTube videos, but I'm sure everywhere else as well. They will ban you. They will do it. However, I kind of think that, like, on the low, Archie is kind of a simp, though Troy seems to want to argue that he's not. But, like, look at this tomfoolery. Archie Archie is always working an angle.
Well, okay, can we for those of you who are not familiar with this terminology, right? And also I want to point out here real quick, this is not necessarily an endorsement of the term simp, but look, it's part of the popular vernacular right now. It's part of the zeitgeist, or at least on the internet it is. So Ashton, can you please explain what a simp is for those of you who are not aware of this concept?
Sure. So like any piece of slang, it's taken on a second life after its initial meaning. So like originally, or I guess in its purest form, a simp is a man who is like submissive or otherwise overly attentive to a woman in order to garner sexual favors. I don't want to get too weird about it.
Okay.
But now
it's already there.
Been kind of right. I tried to do it delicately.
As delicate as one that can be with this situation, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So now it's been kind of watered down to just be like a guy that's submissive to a woman just for no other reason than he wants her attention.
Okay, all right. See, I don't think Archie's a simp though. First of all, I'm not sure if the Archie Twitter was actually serious about that or not. But yeah, I couldn't like. Is he really vying for like girls' affect? Like, mind you, I come from the old school Archie, right? Old school Archie was pretty oblivious, and he kind of just went on
Yeah.
about his business, like day in and day out. And like Betty and Veronica were both pining over him, but ultimately his inability to choose, I kind of feel like is more of a oh God, more of a I don't even want to say a pimp move because that's gonna flavor it even more. But I feel like his unwillingness to choose doesn't make him a simp. You know what I mean? Like I kind
Right.
of feel like that doesn't really fall in that category. Yeah, a player. Thank you, Johnny. Thank
Okay.
you for throwing something else in there because like everything I thought of, I was like, this is gonna sound bad coming out of my mouth. Anyway, yeah, I don't think Archie's a simp. Like, what is your argument for Archie being a simp, Ashton?
You know what? Okay, so I'll take this in two ways. Like in the comics, he's really not because like comic book Archie, his whole thing has always been that he's a total dunderhead. Like everything goes over his head, he misses it.
Hmm.
But like Riverdale Archie is a whole other mess.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. All right. I understand that definitely the Riverdale Archie is a whole nother story entirely. I'm sure. I've never watched the show, but based off of everything you've told me,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Riverdale
it's
Archie's doing the absolute most.
yeah. He also seems a bit sketchy too. I don't know if I trust. I don't know if I implicitly trust Riverdale Archie over comic book Archie. Like, I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I will say this. If we're going to use the term simp, right? If we're going to throw it around, okay. I got a text from my friend this past week. He just caught
Uh-oh.
when. Oh Jesus. He just caught. Look. First of all, my friend. You know what? You can't choose. And am I going out again?
Yeah.
It just doesn't want me to talk. That's what it is. Um, but I got a call from my last week. He doesn't really read comics, but he
Mhm.
said about about Cyclops's recent relationship involving Wolverine and Jean Grey, which is very like vague in the comic books. They don't really bring it up,
Mhm.
but it's it's indicated or it's implied, and Jonathan Hickman has not said anything about this, but it's implied that they're in an open relationship, or at least Jean is. I don't know if Scott is, which is actually kind of
Okay.
interesting. But like, I don't expect anybody at Marvel or Jonathan Hickman to ever fully like say what it is. And actually, I think it's better that way. I think it's better to speculate. But
Yeah.
a friend of mine was very upset about this, and he called Cyclops a simp. To which I look. I have come around to the attitude that Cyclops is actually a great character. Didn't used to like Cyclops when I was a kid, but after Grant Morrison, Joss Whedon, I actually like Cyclops now. But that said, Cyclops in the past, especially during the Chris Claremont days, had some simp qualities. Particularly when Jean died, he immediately went. Well, I shouldn't say immediately, but not too shortly after Jean died, he ended up with a woman who looked exactly like Jean, and pretty much had like all this weird PTSD that he kind of foisted onto her. I'm talking about Madeline Pryor. And Cyclops really has not been on the up and up about his relationship since up until Emma Frost. Like previous to that, he was a horrible baby daddy. Like he shoved this kid off into the future for someone else to take care of him. Like, yeah, Cyclops, he definitely pines for female affection. And a lot of times I'd say that he probably just needs therapy.
Oh yikes.
I think that's probably like really was maybe that's what Emma's providing for him. Matter of fact, that is what Emma provided for him, and that's why he's been great ever since. But Chris Claremont's Cyclops, maybe a simp. Maybe a simp. I'm just gonna say. What else is going on in the world, Ash? And there's San Diego Comic Con at home,
Mhm.
which I believe starts today, or it starts tomorrow. I'm not sure.
I think
Uh,
it's today
I think it's
because
today,
today would
right?
have been preview night.
Yeah, it would have been. That's right. And we know this because what? We would have typically been there by now.
Oh,
we would have
I'm
been at
so sad.
we would have been in San Diego enjoying the not sweltering weather because it's like definitely warm there, but not as bad as it is here. But of course, because of COVID, because of the 19, San Diego Comic Con has been forced to do sort of like a YouTube option. So that's what San Diego Comic Con at home is. And so they got all this cool programming that they're doing. I found it interesting that someone pointed out earlier this week that like you know San Diego covered Comic Con for the first time in like years is really mostly about comics again.
Oh,
which I,
interesting.
which I think is kind of interesting. And I think that's because the movie industry has been impacted so aggressively by COVID-19. And comic
Hmm.
books have been too, but ultimately these stories that are still able to come out and they're still able to
Hmm.
get printed and still be able to go to comic shops. Um, but I did see some really cool panels that I wanted to check out from the TV and movie side. Number
Yes.
one, Kieran Gillen's doing a world building panel that I actually want to check out because he does the comic book. He's done a lot of cool comics, but he does a book called Die, which is kind of like a Jumanji D&D gone dark type of book from Image right now.
Wow.
And I expect he knows a lot about world building because
Hmm.
not only is a great writer, but he's the guy who makes Die. Also, Johnny pointed out to me earlier that Charlie Theron's got
Yeah.
an action showcase, which I do want to check out. Like, did we? You weren't here last week. Did you get a chance to watch the Old Guard at all, or not at all? Or were you
Oh
too
my
busy?
God, I did, and it's
You did.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's just another in a long line of like great Charlize Theron action movies. I mean, she's been doing this since I want to say since The Italian Job, which is like early 2000.
Yeah.
I might have be forgetting something before that. But yeah, she's the premier action actress, I'd say. Like, I mean, I know Gal Gadot's out
Heck
there,
yeah.
but she is the premier action actress, and she just keeps taking those hits. Like, no matter how many years go by, she's just still
Hmm.
in there. So I absolutely love that, and I definitely want to hear her talk about her career as it pertains to action. Uh,
Yes.
anyway, how about this? My mic is working again, so let's do some What's at Comic Shops. Ash and I are going to share our picks this week, and then we'll talk a little bit about Free Comic Book Day Summer. Free Comic Book Summer. I hate that I keep
Come
doing that. I'm
on.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Take it away, Johnny. All right, Ashton. So, it's the 22nd. It's New Comic Book Day at most stores around the world, right? And so, what is your pick this week for New Comic Book Day? Can you not hear me?
I can't hear you, so I
You
mean,
can't
I'm
hear me?
assuming
Oh, no. Can you not hear me?
no.
Nothing. Oh God, that's awful.
Oh, I can. Or you say something. I think I can hear you. Like,
Okay. Can you hear me
okay,
now?
we're back in business.
All
I'm
right.
gonna.
What What is your pick this week?
Oh, good. I should have known. Like, how many times have we done this show? I should have known that that's probably what you were asking me. I should have known for like 98% certainty that that was it. But nevertheless, my pick this week is The Seance Room from Source Point Press, which, if I learned nothing from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, it's I love a good seance. So this book kind of functions similarly to something like The Ice Cream Man from Image Comics. It's a series of like one shots or vignettes that are all tied together into a larger overarching theme, but the stories themselves aren't necessarily related to each other. And so this is a trade. It collects the 4 issues of it, so it's like kind of a mini series, if you will. And so, just to give a quick rundown of like the different things you can expect, like the first issue centers on a career politician who crashes his car near the mansion rather, where the seance room is. And so he goes to the mansion in search of help, ends up in the seance room, and is basically forced to atone for his two-faced ways as a politician. In the second issue, a young woman is looking for an urn to put her dead loved one in, whomever that would be. And the ghosts of love and power offer to strike her a deal with her. I'm assuming that will have something to do with like bringing the loved ones back, but it also sounds like a genie trap where you don't actually get what you asked for. Third one, the owner of the mansion actually gets involved and kind of plays a little bit of like will they, won't they, with a woman that shows up there lost and confused and attempts to get her to reconsider her life choices. What that means, I don't know. It sounds really scary. Anything that's like will they, won't they, there's always some element of peril that's intriguing. So I'm particularly excited about that one. Um,
Nice.
and then in the last issue, there's a movie star that enters a seance room to kind of atone for some of her own sadnesses and shortcomings in her career. And that, of course, again, doesn't end up the way she expects. So it's interesting because it's this nice mix between um like weird genie magic, like supernatural things. It's perfect, like I said, if you're a fan of Ice Cream Man from Image Comics, but also like if you liked Black Mirror or if you like the Twilight Zone or whatever, all they all have those kinds of things
Right.
work together.
Yeah, no, no, I love this. It sounds like Tales from the Crypt and like, all those other comic book traditions of anthology books and whatnot. So, can you not hear me?
No, I can.
Okay, good.
I'm
uh,
listening.
s- okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad. I'm glad you are because apparently my headset is not. If this continues, I'm just going to yank the USB out of this thing and just yell into the computer.
Day.
Um, my pick this week. Okay, it's X-Men Fantastic Four #4. I've been waiting. See, hold on, am I going out again? I feel like I'm going out again.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Here, we're just gonna.
You're okay.
Okay. Apparently I was fine, but you know what? I'm just gonna yell at the computer now because I'm tired of this. Yeah, my pick this week is Fantastic Four #4. This was probably the book I was anticipating the most out of Hickman's Dawn of X series, and it's because early on they teased that Franklin Richards is being vetted by the X-Men to join their island nation of Krakoa because by all rights he is a mutant. And they've taken an aggressive stance on creating a safe haven for all mutants. And of course, in the middle of all this is, as it should be, Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom kind of inserts himself into this conflict with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men over Franklin Richards. And as we saw in the last issue, which was back in March, actually, which is one of the reasons I'm eagerly anticipating #4, the X-Men end up on Latveria, and now you have to understand something. They're both considered sovereign nations at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the X-Men are on Latverian soil. They get into a skirmish with some Doombots. It turns out that the X-Men actually kill some people, like humans, while they're on Latveria, which I am sure is going to create an international incident. Sorry, lost my voice for a second. An international incident that's going to have some serious repercussions moving forward. So yeah, X-Men Fantastic Four #4 is good. I need some water. Jeez. Hey Ash, why don't you tell people about Free Comic Book Day Summer?
Free Comic Book Summer.
Yes.
So the second week of Free Comic Book Summer is starting today. So the books that you'll be able to get starting today is Bloodshot from Valiant, Dark Arc Instinct from Aftershock, Manhwa Contemporary Korean Comics from Drawn and Quarterly, Spider-Man Venom from Marvel, and Horizon Zero Dawn from Titan Comics, which it's a really good selection. And people have seen particularly hype on Twitter about this selection of comics, especially Spider-Man Venom and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
So, but before I ask you which one, is most interesting to you, I do want to point out the way that this event functions, because there seems to be some confusion. So today is the first day that these comics are available at the stores. Like your store will get these free comics with their regular weekly shipments. So when they give them out between now and the time they get the next set of comics is really up to them. Like some shops will give them today. Some shops might give out one today, one tomorrow, one for the next several days. Some might hang on to them and give them all out on Saturday because that's when they have their most foot traffic. It's really up to the shop and what works for them and their client base. We've had some people going to shops on Wednesdays on the day the books come out and not getting them because the shops aren't giving them out yet. That is their prerogative. We want this to work for them in a way that best fits their particular, regulations and policies surrounding COVID in their particular state.
Right.
The best bet is to call the shop before you go. Like get on Comic Shop Locator, get on Free Comic Book Day. There's a locator there. Get their phone number, call them up, ask them when they're giving out the free comics so you don't waste your time going back and forth. Right.
And I mean, truthfully, that's what you probably should be doing, even if this was Free Comic Book Day. You always want to check ahead and see what the options are for you as a consumer. So, and also you asked me what is my book of choice.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I ended up posting this on PREVIEWSworld.com, the Valiant Free Comic Book Special. And I'm very curious about that because I know it's supposed to drop around the time of Bloodshot, which of course everything got pushed back because of the coronavirus. But there's a cool Exo-Man of War story in the back, and of course there's a Bloodshot story in the front. Also, I'm definitely down for the Spider-Man story. Of course, I'm curious if this is going to tie into anything, or if it's going to be like last year's book, I think it was, which was just a fun little one-shot featuring characters from the Spider-Man universe or Spider-Verse, whatever you want to call it. So. Yeah, those are probably going to be my go-tos. But you know what? It's free, so I'm gonna pick up all of them. Why not? So big ticket items this week. So Empire #2. the Empire crossover is a weekly book. And they're going to be dropping these every single week for the next couple of weeks. And that's partially to get ahead, but also because, hey, bring some people back in the comic shops every week.
Yeah.
But that's the big crossover. It's the Kree and the Skrull joining forces against the heroes of Earth. And of course, the Fantastic Four are getting rocked because the Skrulls hate the Fantastic Four. Wolverine #3 continues the Dawn of X storyline. It's Benjamin Percy and Adam Kubert. And, I was talking earlier about Adamantium is real. I mean, look at that. That's Adamantium Rage if ever I've seen it. That's a great cover. I love that. Also, a big return this week is Jonathan Layman's Chew is returning to with a new #1. This is from Image Comics. They just did a crossover not too long ago with Outer Darkness, but this is actually the regular Chew book, and it looks like it might have a new protagonist, which is actually kind of cool. Power Rangers, Ranger Slayer #1. This is another big one. If you're a big Power Rangers fan, this is a book to pick up. It's got some great cover art, and it just expands on the Shattered Grid storyline, and several other storylines have been going on in the other Power Ranger titles. Green Hornet #1, which I'm actually personally excited for. I have a soft spot in my heart for Green Hornet, particularly because I watched a lot of reruns of the show back when I was a kid. And like Bruce Lee, of course, was Kato. So that is actually one of the main reasons I watched it. And I always am curious about how comics reinterpret Kato, which really they're reinterpreting Bruce Lee. And Ashton, for you, the big one this week, right? World of Archie turns 100.
I know.
Which is actually kind of cool. Like, it's a special 100th issue, jumbo size. And I couldn't tell, is this a digest book or is this just a regular World of Archie comic?
It's a digest book, and it's
okay.
in the style of the old Archie artwork and ridiculous storylines and things that make no sense and are not at all related, but somehow hilarious.
That's my favorite Archie. I can't knock it at all. Like that's
Right.
the Archie I love. Like, I mean, I think the continuity bound Archie that they're doing now is actually kind of interesting, but something can be said for just going to the supermarket and picking up a copy of the digest and flipping through it, or your local comic shop,
Right.
of course. So yeah, World of Archie turns 100. Definitely celebrate with the team at Archie and pick up a copy this weekend. Speaking of books that are coming up and books that are coming out, there's a series called Big Girls, and it just so happens that Anamia had a chance to talk to one of the creators this past weekend, so we'll talk about a little bit about that. But first, I'm going to show you the trailer. Here's Big Girls from Image Comics. Yes, that was very loud. But hey, guys, watch out for the Big Girls. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Man.
I had to do that. I'm so sorry. It was right there. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Teed up.
But it was teed up. Like, apologies to Jason Howard. I'm sure he's probably going to hear that a lot, or probably has heard that a lot already. But it's coming to comic stores soon. It's coming from Image Comics. And if you get a chance, if you're at all curious about this book, definitely check out Anamia's comic talk episode from last week, where she sits down with writer artist Jason Howard and talks about his career in comics. He's done some cool stuff, of course, like Trees and several other books with Robert Kirkman and several other creators. But now this is his solo one. So definitely check that out. And I think there's a little bit of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, some inspiration from that in this. So if you love that cult cinemas type stuff, definitely check it out. But all right, Ashton, you ready?
Yeah.
I queued this up just for you because you were out of town last week, and I was like, when we get back, the Asinine Arguments with Ashton has to be good to herald Ashton's return. So here we go, Asinine Arguments with Ashton.
I'm beyond excited for this. Guys, I love Grimace. I will die on the hill of Grimace. But now this week we have put him up against another ridiculous mascot, the Kool-Aid Man. We have asked you guys who would win in a steel cage match to the death between Kool-Aid Man and Grimace. And here's what you said. Jamie said, Kool-Aid Man is an apex predator. Oh my gosh. Grimace is non-violent, and he would be out of his league against the sugary madness of the red tide.
I love that. I love that. Actually, that's so great.
Jeff said diabetes. Diabetes wins. Can you guys tell I haven't seen these yet? These are hilarious.
That makes it even better. I want your genuine reaction to these.
Robert said, y'all don't even understand, complete with picture of Grimace bathing in the blood of the innocent.
Hey, Ashton, producer Johnny over here. I just think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that this it makes me think of the band Mac Sabbath.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this.
I didn't mean to trigger
This is
you,
like
Ashton.
a death metal McDonald's band.
It is
super creepy.
It is, and I was
the
actually.
Grimace thing I'm relatively okay with. It's the Ronald McDonald clown situation that is not gonna fly.
Oh no, it's totally inappropriate. I was treated today because Johnny introduced this to us earlier today. I was treated to a rendition of Paranoid.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Uh-oh. A few more. Hold on. Can you hear me? No, you don't hear. Okay, well, Johnny can hear me, so I don't know what's going on here. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, check out Mac Sabbath because I got to listen to a rendition of Paranoid that was a pair of buns. Anyway, Ashton, go ahead. What were you saying?
Mark says Grimace, the Kool-Aid Man has a Grimace. Okay, comma it should be. The Kool-Aid Man has a glass jaw. I'll see myself out. Josh says my money is on my man Grimace. He's bottom heavy and would clearly push the other guy made out of glass and liquid flat over.
He's bottom heavy. I never want to hear the
Kyle
word
said
bottom.
Grimace used to have 4 arms. He's lost 2 arms and still smiling. My money is on Grimace. Grimace used to be like a bad guy when this first started. He was like on the same side as the Hamburglar back in like the 1970s. And then McDonald's decided that he was scaring the children. So they took away 2 of his arms and made him a good guy. And now here we are. Danny said, okay, we played this game back in the day, someone versus someone else. When Grimace was mentioned, most of us easily dismissed him as a viable fighter. But then someone spoke up saying, what is Grimace? For all you know, he could be the most powerful being in the universe. And from then on, Grimace became supreme champion of the universe. Nothing can defeat Grimace.
Oh, God. And so this weekly poll, right?
The comments said Grimace would win, but in the poll, Kool-Aid Man won? What?
Right. Yeah, that's weird, right? That's crazy. I don't think. Hold on.
Ashton, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
No.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. What just happened here? Okay, well.
Bye, Troy's camera. Wow, guys, we're killing it today. This is just the most superior broadcast we've probably ever done.
I don't know what happened. That's weird. This whole thing is awful. I don't know. So you can't hear me. Johnny, can you hear me?
I can't hear you, and now I'm worried if it's me.
I can hear Troy just fine.
I can hear you, but I can't hear Troy.
I say, do I have to be the middleman to convey what Troy's saying over to Ashton?
Right. Sign language. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, guys.
I can't hear him, but I can hear you just fine.
Hi, everyone. Producer Johnny here, by the way. Tune in for Previous Game Night every Tuesday at 4 p.m.
There you go.
Featuring our technical difficulties.
We are.
Unfortunately, we're coming up to the end of the show, so we're about ready to cut our losses at this point.
You're right, yeah. Ashton, I give it to you.
No, Ashton was saying basically, I think it's kind of interesting. It's weird that like a lot of the people who commented online were in favor of Grimace, but the polls on we put up basically went or in favor of Kool-Aid Man both ways.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I think like people wanted to comment more on Grimace than than actually give him the win.
This is stressing me out.
Can you hear me, Ashton? Though.
No, I can only hear Johnny.
No, that's why I'm the one that said, "Can you hear me?"
Oh, well, the way you said it, I thought you were saying it like on behalf of Troy. Yeah, I can hear you.
No. Well, I'll be the middleman here. So.
How much would you guys hate me if I tried to do this on my laptop and it's gonna be laggy, but I might be able to hear Troy?
Well, we're almost done, so let's just keep rolling. D. Brad Gibson says he can hear everyone.
Okay, Brett, thank you. All right.
That's weird because then I can see Troy talking, but I'm I have no clue what he's saying to me, and therefore I don't know what I should say back.
It might be something to do with your audio settings in the StreamYard, what you're using.
Maybe.
But I'm on my iPad and I've been using my iPad for weeks now.
I don't know. Your iPad sucks.
Let's just wrap it up.
Anyway, I think it's about that time where we do the comic shop shout out. So let's just go over to Ashton. So who is this week's comic shop shout out?
Man, that was rough. This week's comic shop shout out goes to Titan Moon Comics in Cedar Park, Texas. If you would like to have us feature your shop on the show or give them a shout out, find us on social media, tag your shop if they have a handle. And then also tag it using hashtag #BackTheComeback or also hashtag support your LCS if you're feeling saucy and want to do both. And we will find your shop, we will feature them on the show, and we will give them all of the love because we love all comic shops.
There you go. Shout out to Grimace, and thank you, Ashton, for wrapping that up. Thanks for joining us this week on Previews World Weekly for what you could hear, or maybe you didn't hear, I don't know. But I've been one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen, and
I have been your host, your producer, Johnny Rose, and over there is
Ashton Greenwood. Hey, what's up, guys? Killing it.
Hey, this is what happened when you do it live, guys. Sorry. We'll be back next week. We'll figure this out. Bye.